לכתבי העת האלה ומחוץ לספרים, שתכלס כולכם משתמשים בהם כיום, אבל הם לא נמצאים במקום ספציפי. מה שחברת Coherent Digital עשתה, ומה שנעשה כיום זה, אדם גרדנר בעצם יציג לנו אותו. המאגר בנוי מחומרים שנמצאים באתרים מאוד חשובים, שאני בטוחה אני לא יודעת אם כולכם, אבל רובכם נמצאים באתרים האלה, אוספים משם חומרים ומשתמשים בהם. אז אני אתן לאדם גרדנר את הבמה, והוא יסביר לנו מה זה המאגר הזה, ממה הוא בנוי, ובהמשך אנחנו נשמח לבוא לכם לפגישות ולהראות את המאגר, ובסופה של המצגת, אדם גם ייתן זמן לשאלות. So, Adam, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And I give you the stage, and good luck for all of us, and have a nice.
Okay, so I'm just sharing my screen. Hopefully you can see the presentation. Can you?
Yes.
Okay, very good. So I'll enlarge this. Right, okay, very good. Well, thank you, everybody. Welcome, and thank you for inviting me, and thank you for joining this brief presentation today. I'm going to give you a very brief introduction on what Policy Commons is, really brief, give you a very brief case study, and then the bulk of the session today is going to be demonstration and actually looking at the product and seeing how it works. If I am talking too quickly, please do stop me, please interrupt, raise a hand, or just shout out. If you want me to repeat anything, please do the same thing. And also, of course, if there are any questions while we're going through, please do stop me and ask. I hope we can make this interactive. It's not a school lesson. This is a workshop where we're working together on this. So good morning. I'm Adam Gardner, as Ronit introduced. I heard my name a couple of times. I'm from a new company called Coherent Digital. We're based in the USA, although we have no office. We were born in the pandemic, and we all still work remotely. Two co-founders, both British, but one lives in the USA, one lives in France. So Stephen Rind-Tutt and Toby Green are the co-founders, both veterans of the publishing scholarly information industry. So Policy Commons is the subject today, but what is it? What is Policy Commons? Well, it's the world's largest database for public policy. You can read what's on the screen there. Essentially, we're indexing and describing and providing a discovery layer for millions of documents of grey literature. Now, these grey literatures come from international government organizations, non-government organizations, think tanks, research centers, governments, you name it. They come from all over the place, and they're largely out there on the open web. We also have some premium content that we store on our site. And this is stuff that we've licensed in from the likes of the European Commission, for example, with some ebooks, or indeed the content from organizations that have disappeared. An example of that, well, disappeared, or the documents have disappeared. An example of that happened last week with the US Environmental Protection Agency, where we ingested 37,000 documents, reports from them because they decided to just delete them from the website. So we now have the only repository of US EPA material. It's rescued and preserved. So who is using Policy Commons? Well, we get content from, as I said previously, the four main sources of NGOs, IGOs, think tanks, government departments, and research centers. But crucially, who is using Policy Commons? Our main customer, of course, and I'm sure you're mostly representative of this group, is universities. So those are our main customer grouping and where we have most activity. However, we do have customers already from government. So the entire Scottish government and the Australian Capital Territory in Canberra, so the library of the Australian government are currently using us, and we are in talks with other governments around the world to provide them access to policy research that's already published out there in the world. We have some customers who are corporates, notably banks. They seem to be very interested in policy changes around the world. And we also have inquiries from telecoms, energy, and management accountants. So the likes of KPMG, Accenture, these kind of folks. And of course, the research centers who are actually doing policy research want to read about the old policy research from other providers as well. So they also are serious customers. But why? Why are we doing this, and why do customers want us to do this? Well, this stuff, people say it is largely available freely on the open web. It's there for you to use and find, and there's no cost involved to downloading it and printing it or whatever you want to do. But the content that's out there is disorganized. It's scattered all over the place. There is no structure to it. As academics or academic librarians, we're used to having our data structured very nicely in very specific ways. The open web has a big problem with link rot, broken links. So either documents disappear or the link breaks. Even though the document is still there, the route to it is broken. There's no metadata, no indexing, no cataloging, nothing like this. So finding these materials is really, really difficult because you can't search for them using established search methodologies. And there's no integration with the library tools that we all need and that we all have. So, Alma, Primo, Mark Records, all these sorts of things. There's no integration, no DOIs. All of this together means that the content on the open web is not discoverable. You just find it by accident. And therefore, content on the open web is not reliable for research. But why do we need it? So these are some of the questions that we often get from customers and potential customers. It's free anyway. Yes, it is. But as I've just explained, it's unusable. Some people think that they can find it themselves. You might, but you're not going to be able to find it systematically, and it might not be there next time. There seems to be a perception that grey literature is not peer-reviewed. That cannot be further from the truth. It is peer-reviewed in a method different than traditional journals, but it's certainly peer-reviewed by experts. And the organizations that are publishing this grey literature, they have a bigger thing at stake than a single academic. They have their reputation. So the UN or the World Bank or the Chatham House, they have their reputation at stake. And if they publish something that's wrong, then they're never taken seriously again. Many librarians and academics say, well, anything I use has to be from a journal. Well, most policymakers would disagree with that. Journal articles are too slow to publish. By the time they are published, which can be 6 months, 18, nearly 2 years sometimes, the data are out of date. Things have moved on. So grey literature is very much more timely. And often we get feedback to say, oh, no, I don't want stuff about policy. I'm an engineering librarian, or I'm a medical academic. Well, guess what? There's policy about everything. There's policy about nuclear energy. There's policy about food security. There's policy about public health, policy about transport, policy about science, strategy for any particular country. So there's always policy for everything, and the range of subjects is extraordinary. Now, I like to contextualize this Policy Commons as being a bit like what the abstract and indexing database did for journals in the 1990s when they went online, or in the 90s in CD format. It liberated, it opened up the journals and made them much more usable, much more discoverable, easier to access. So Policy Commons is to grey literature as ANI was to journals, in my opinion. So that was a very quick run through. I'm going to give you an equally quick case study about something that happened very recently, just last month. So on the 16th of May, there were headlines in various news feeds online to say that London and 9 other major cities could run out of water. This was according to a report from the charity Christian Aid, a British-based charity. But none of the reports that you can see here from online sources, none of them had a link to the actual report. So how do you find it? Okay, so you might think, let's go to the Christian Aid website and have a look there. Nope, no mention of it whatsoever on their website. They wrote the report, they commissioned the report, but it's not on their website. Let's go to the press release. Sure enough, the press release is on their website, but still in the press release that they wrote, there's no link to the report itself. You cannot get the original report. So you think, let's try the search engine. On the day of the press release, their search engine had nothing. The search engine had not indexed the new documents. So not even the press release was available. So you're thinking, I need to see this. How can I find it? Well, after much clicking, much searching via Twitter, my colleague who wrote this presentation, my colleague found it through Twitter. There's not a lot of metadata, hardly anything. There's no abstract, there's no indication of the author's names or no persistent identifiers, and it doesn't even list the 10 cities. But it took 30 minutes to get this far. Now that's madness. That's unsustainable. No one can work this way. It needs structure, it needs to be organized. And well, once we found it as well, we looked at, see, well, why is it not easy to find? Is there a problem with it? Well, the work seems to be authoritative, written by 2 academics with good credentials and a journalist who can put it into language for the public rather than language for scientists. So ticks those boxes. It's authoritative. It stands on giant shoulders. It has it's a good range of references, some from some journals, others from equally important policy documents. So tick, it has good sources. Is it citable? No. How do you cite this? No idea. It doesn't slot into any of these well-established citation styles, so you don't know how to use it. Can it be found easily? No, not within the library. None of the discovery services or these aggregators like ResearchGate that we know about, even Google Scholar could not find it. Maybe Google Classic might be able to find it now, a month later, but certainly not Google Scholar. Will anyone preserve it? Will it be there next week? So Locks, Clocks, Portico, no, they're not interested in this kind of stuff. And they charge money for their preservation services. So we thought, well, we'll do it. We uploaded it to Policy Commons, and it's now ready to join the scholarly record. So here it is now as a record in Policy Commons. Christian Aid is registered as an organization. It now has a unique persistent identifier applied by us. We can show you how to cite it using our citation tool. We've preserved a copy in our archive, and we show the author names and abstract and basic metadata. So that now is ready to join the scholarly record with all the other important documents that scholars use around the world. So we tweeted out a link as well, just to say how mad this is, so that the process of actually finding this is now there. Twitter is a great source. It's not where you should start searching, but we wanted to start alerting people to the world that we'd done this with this document so that people could see the good work that Policy Commons is trying to do. And this is exactly why we're building Policy Commons, to make important work like this citable, discoverable, so that we can preserve it, so that grey literature can take its rightful place in the scholarly record, along with journals and books and those traditional document types. So I'll pause very briefly there to see if there are any questions before I jump straight into the demo. Okay, right, let's go to the demo. Okay, so I need to change my screen for some reason that hasn't swapped. Let me share. Can you see the Policy Commons interface? Yes, you can.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, good. Very good. So Policy Commons here, it's a very clean interface. Search, front and center, basic search that we all know that most users like to use all the time. However, for you as librarians, we do have, and for anyone who wants to use it, of course, but there is a powerful advanced search. No surprises here, everything that you're used to. Boolean operators. We do have adjacency search as well, so near with up to 15 word adjacency. And you can build your search query. The normal sort of things you expect to see, publication date. You can start to search across any particular organization. So we could have started searching across Christian Aid there. So for example, see, it appears there. So if you know the organization you're looking for, you can search. Organization type, again, there's not populated for some reason. Publication type, you can see the vast array of types of documents and other materials like maps, projects, etc., that we are indexing. It's a huge amount of different types of sources. And the languages, truly astonishing. Some of these languages I'd never even heard of. Shona, I have no idea where that is from. And we have 1,057 Hebrew articles and even 13 in Yiddish. So truly international content being ingested. Along the top, we have a few different facets, if you will. So if I click organizations, this is a browsable directory of all of the organizations that we have indexed. And we have different facets down the side where you can limit by non-profit or research center or whatever you like. There's some geographical limit facets as well. So you can see just simply all of the countries that we have documents from, and 99 from Israel. There will be others about Israel, of course, but this 99 from Israel. And yeah, some comments about the budget of the organization, which gives an indication of their size and their activity levels, which can be important in research, and so on and so forth, some specific facets about organizations. Down here, we'll come on to topics in a little bit more, but this is very useful as well, this whole topic approach. You can see water, law, climate, education, governance, economics, social policy. These are topics that we have created and allocated, assigned documents to those topics. So almost like it's your faculty area, if you will. So you can have a quick jump into, a quick dive into your area. And then just this is a nice little feature here. We can see how many organizations in this case have been added in the past periods. So in the past week, we've added 2, and in the past month, 40 organizations have been added. And those organizations are added with at least one document, usually thousands of documents. The same sort of thing applies on the publications tab when it loads. It's a directory that you can browse. Publication types are very clear here. I showed you that previously on the advanced search. And again, it's looking at how many publications are from individual organizations. So the European Union, for example, is unsurprisingly a huge contributor. And then the language of publication, year published, and so on and so forth. These are self-explanatory facets. I'm going to skip topics and come back to it in a minute. Tables, let me show you the tables. So one of the nice things we do with the platform is that we identify where tables are in an individual document, and we expose them as thumbnails, and you can click that table and you can see it, and you can download that table as it is, as a, you know, some kind of image if you wanted to, or this is a very simple table. It's not a great example. You can download it as a CSV, and our software will convert that PDF table into a CSV so that you then, if you want to use the data, you don't have to rekey it. And so there's the table that's opened up. There's some things going on here with the characters. So that should be a Euro character. It's fairly easy to replace that. It's not infallible, but it's better than having to rekey all the digits. If you can imagine, that's a very large table with hundreds of rows. This is a real time saver, and it limits errors. So if I go, so that was the tables, and lists. Lists are very interesting as well. So this is something that the user can do themselves. A list essentially is the user's own area, their library, if you will. So every user has their own login, and they register as themselves. But of course, the access is provided by, in this case, Coherent, because this is the demonstration account. But if this was your library, your institutional name would appear there. And because every user logs into their own account, they can save things to their own account. So they can start to build up their own reading lists. And here you can see something about the visibility. It's possible to keep these lists private. So only the user can see that, or share them within your organization, so within your university, or indeed most people choose to make their lists public so that all Coherent users can see your list. So they can, if you've identified something that's interesting, you might want to share it with others so they can see it. And it's very simple. Say I'm interested in this state of democracy, human rights, and the rule of law. I just opened that list there, and I can add individual documents to the list. It's really simple. This is a list I have already created, or I can create a new one. Let's just call it law. Democratic law, I can call it. Democracy and law. Save that, and that article was added to the list. If I go back to their state of democracy, I can add the whole lot to the list. That whole list can be added as a list, or added to my list. I can save that in there. So everything gets added there in one go, nice and quickly. And a little word about some other functionality. It's possible to export to the list. Sorry, it's possible to export individual items this way, and .ras files and .csv files. We will shortly, we're working on it right now, be able to export whole lists in .ras format for things like EndNote and other bibliographic management software. So let's go back to our main search, and well, I'm going to browse here in the topics. I'm going back to the topics that we discussed. earlier. And we've got some headline topics here that we think are really interesting. But if you go down here, you can browse on an A to Z list, which is quite lengthy, but it's often useful to browse. But if you wanted to search, if you go back to the advanced search, and right at the bottom of the advanced search, you can start to type topics. So I'm going to type education. And sure enough, we've found a number of topics where education is a word, or as part of the topic. So I can add them all, or let's just stick with agricultural education. And here we are. So we have quite a few, 176 results, and our results set shows us a very brief snippet of the summary and some information, where it's from, when it was published, the title, of course, the language of the document, which is really important, of course. I think most of this will come from the European Union, but you can see down the left side, oh no, the World Bank is where most of them come from. Down the left side, you can see the organizations that have provided these documents and the document type. In this case, they are all reports. And here you can see the language. I'm just going to expand this to see what other languages. Okay. In this particular case, there's only a limited set of languages. But you can see that these documents are coming from quite a wide geography as well. And if we go into one of these, I'm going to pick a recent one. So this is about child labor in agriculture. So agriculture and education happening there. Again, you can see the title, the persistent identifier that we've created. It's our identifier. The logo of the organization that's provided the document, and that's a linked logo. You can go straight to that organization and see everything they've published, the date it was published, and then some simple functions here. So it's possible to share this with those normal kind of channels. The citation is shown, and this is the recommended way to cite these articles. And you can download this citation just one at a time, unfortunately, for the time being. Very soon we'll be able to download lists of citations, but right now it's only a single citation. Or indeed, you can add to the list like we saw just a few moments ago. There's the summary there, and the author, in this case, there is no named author, it's just the FAO, Food and Agriculture Organization, is the author. And so if we view the document, one thing I haven't said so far is that Policy Commons on the whole is not hosting these documents. We're linking out to where the original document resides. Why is that, do you think? Well, these aren't ours. These are open to the public, of course, they're in the public domain. But the organizations we're working with want people to visit their websites, and that's what we're doing. We're driving traffic to their websites. It's a quid pro quo, everyone helps each other. And we've gone straight to the FAO and we've found this document there. Now, the FAO is a very, very good website, actually. It's an example of when an organization does things very well. And this actually has an ISBN, which is really unusual. So that's great news. And there's simply a download link here. There's a DOI here, all the sort of stuff that you want to see yourself. And we can go straight into the document as a PDF, and you can download that and do all the normal things you want to do with the PDF. That's a big document, it's taking a while to load. And there you go. So 72-page document, lots of color, so it is quite big. Yeah. Okay, so like I said, the majority, over 2 million of the records that we are indexing are records like this that was hosted on another site. We take a backup copy. If the link breaks, our backup, our link checker is running all the time. Every few hours, it passes through everything. If it finds a broken link, it will immediately put our backup copy in place so that there is always, give or take a few hours, there is always a document there. In the case of disappeared organizations or the premium content, we are hosting the content on our servers. So this view would stay, if you click this link, it would stay within our server. You see that there. Okay, I'm going to go back up to topics and explore this a little bit more by browse. So I'm going to browse education so we can see a whole lot more of what is there. So you can see education in particular is quite a rich topic area. And this is only those that have education as the first word. There will be lots of other educational topics. But, you know, the topics are just staggering in their diversity and granularity. I mean, electric fields, here's your science and engineering, electricity, infrastructure, electric power, technology, electric vehicles, again, technology, transportation. So it really is across science, technology, medicine, humanities, social sciences, engineering, every subject that you can imagine, business, electronic commerce, electrodialysis, so it's medicine, electrochemistry, chemistry, truly, truly diverse. And then you might think of, okay, what about visual culture or law? Well, let's look at law. We can browse law. That's straight away. There's labor law there. But if I go and do an advanced search around law, sorry, excuse me 1 second. Oh, a little bit of a technical issue. What happened there? I'm just going to stop sharing and reshare because I don't know what just happened there. Oh, I see there's some messages in the chat. Okay. Okay, I can answer those questions. So those are all good questions. I'll answer those ones at the very end. I'm going to go back to the demo and share my screen. Okay. Where's it gone? So can you see my screen now?
No.
No? I really don't know what's happened here. Still no?
Oh, now. Now we can.
You can now. Okay, great. Great. Okay, so
now we see. Now we see, yes.
Yeah, okay, great. So law, for example, browsing for law at the start of the word would only bring you a few, but the way law is structured, that law usually appears at the end of the phrase. So you can see really huge amounts of content here. Space law, wow. I don't think that's outer space, it might be physical space. But the law of war, labor law, commercial law, competition law, there's a lot in here. Yeah, so with an eye on the time, I'm just going to pull up those questions again. There's some good questions there. So that's, sorry, I can't see the full name because it's not printing. Is there a possibility for integration with library discovery systems like EDS or CDI? We face a problem like most publishers do with all of the discovery services from OCLC, Clarivet, Ex Libris, ProQuest, you know, that huge company, and EBSCO, in that, well, there are many factors at play. One, they're very slow. You know that, we know that. They're very, very slow about reacting. But the second is that they don't know how to handle this content because it's non-standard, non-traditional content, and it doesn't fit into their classifications. we're working with them, we're talking to them daily. Any pressure that librarians can apply to them is always really, really helpful. So if you could speak to your representatives from your discovery services and library management systems to try and encourage them to integrate with us, that would be much appreciated. As an interim step, we've been fortunate, and this is a really big thing, we've been fortunate to be crawled by Google Scholar. So the entire database is crawled by Google Scholar. And as we all know, many of our users, not just students, even researchers and academics, start their search at Google Scholar. So they will find records in Google Scholar, and we will bring them back into Policy Commons and into the native interface. And hopefully they'll stay there and start to use it. The next question from Anna Finkelstein. I have two questions about quality control. Do you research organizations that you index and according to which criteria? And do you assure quality control of the reports and according to which criteria? So those two are interlinked, really. So we start with the organization, and yes, we do vet the organization according to editorial criteria, which I don't have to hand, but my editorial colleagues have been doing this for very many years. So Toby Green, who is the editor of Policy Commons, was head of publishing at the OECD. And he was there for 25 years, I believe. He has vast experience on assessing international organizations, knowing which ones are viable, which ones are credible, which ones are just crazy. And he makes the decision. He will have criteria, but he makes a decision based on vast experience. And it's only the articles that come from those credible organizations that are included. So we have to vet the organization first, and then the publications from the organization are acceptable. They are still screened to make sure they're not, you know, there's nothing problematic there, or they're not making false claims or false representations. But the most important thing is to screen the organization. So Nawal Nafar Hassan has asked, how long do you expect to develop exporting results in RIS format? It's on the it's on the list. I'm sure that's something that you hear all the time. We are moving really quickly. We are a young company that's only 12 months in business. We launched our product in a usable form. It's you know, highly functional. The value add, the additional features are coming as we're developing. And I do know that the intention is to have this done by around September, the autumn. So the start of the new academic year is when we hope to have it done. Of course, we know the reality that technical projects often slip, but it is our intention to get it done by that time. And there is a question from Z-Fort, that's someone's abbreviated name. Working with IPS, and sorry, I don't know what IPS is. Could someone enlighten me? What the IPS is? Oh, IP addresses, IPs. Yes, yes. So authentication methods, yes. We have 4 main authentication methods. Of course, IP access is one of them, and we'll work with libraries to ensure we select the correct IP addresses. Easy proxy, of course, as well. We can deploy Shibboleth and Open Athens, you know, federated authentication. And then also things like refer a URL, email domain authentication, which is becoming increasingly popular, particularly in non-academic settings. So yes, we have all the usual kind of authentication methods that you're familiar with, yes. Okay, do we have any other questions, or can I show anything more to you? Okay, so we've been going about 45 minutes. Yes, you can still see the. Sorry, go on.
Did you answer the last question? How long do you expect
Yes.
to develop exporting result in
In this.
RIS format?
Yes, yes. So I said that we hope to have that done by the start of the new academic year, sort of September time. However,
sorry, I was disconnected. Sorry.
okay, no problem. So I'm hoping you can still see the search screen, correct? Yes. Okay. Very good.
Yes, we can.
Yeah. Good. So I wanted to show you a few other nice features that are available. I mean, on the search screen, I said we want to keep this nice and clear and the search very much front and center as soon as you join. We have these shortcuts though, and these are edited highlights, if you like, that the editor has added. Things that are in the news right now: Ukraine, Russia, of course, vaccination. And if you just click into any of these, it's performing a search. It's just performing a Russia and a Boolean search on Russia and sanctions. And you can see that the search terms are highlighted in the results there. And we have a huge amount of over 10,000 results. So let's focus in on some of them. Let's go into an article. I'm flying blind here. But yeah, so now we have focused down the results set a little bit. And these are quite old. So 8 years old, 7 years old. So what to say about this? Well, it's giving some really great background into how we've got to the current situation. One of the things about Russia and the current Russia-Ukraine situation is that we rescued a very important document. See if I can find it. Okay, I've got too many facets on. Yeah, there we go. So this document here, Vladimir Putin's essay on the historical unity of Russians and Ukrainians. This is a 14-page essay that he wrote last summer. Yeah, it's about almost a year old. And in it, he laid out very well the historical background to the current political situation. And when you read it, I read this paper, when you read it, you think, wow, I'm learning a lot about the historical situation. Then it starts to go a little bit less credible. It starts to exploit the historical facts to justify current actions. And this essay disappeared. It used to be on the Kremlin's website, but it disappeared in March of this year. We'd found it, we'd preserved it, and now it's still there for the world to see. And this is a really important document. Like I said, it's 14 pages, very well written to begin with. Really good review of the history. So here we see in 1649, Polish Lithuania. As we know, that whole part of Europe and Western Asia is just a melting pot of different kingdoms, different alliances, borders constantly shifting if they were ever in place. And yeah, it's good for those of us in the West to understand a whole lot more. But using it as justification for some of the things that happen later, where he's beginning to slam Ukraine and try to justify his invasion, it's a really great example of how we need to preserve important documents. But here also, changing the subject, we can see there's an upload facility. So any user can upload. This is one of the reasons that we call this a commons, because everyone can participate. It's not us just sending material out to users. Users are part of the community, be that organizational users or individual users. And you can upload files just by choosing in the normal way, you know, this is nothing unusual, or you can just paste a link in here and submit it. This then will be uploaded to our systems. We will do some quality assurance, of course, to ensure that nothing obscene or inflammatory is posted. And then in the case of a bot, of the link, we'll set off our Coherent bot that will crawl this site and retrieve all of the articles, apply some indexing, and just do the great work. So it's really something that that allows users to collaborate very well. And academics and professors, they can load their reading list, they can load their own articles and share them with their students and so forth. And one really important factor that I've saved until the end, because we're coming around to the top of the hour, I just want to give a few more minutes to close. I see there's one more question as well. And the point that I want to finish with before I answer these other questions is that Policy Commons is a freemium model. This means that anybody, including all of you, can right now sign up and use it. You can register. You just, when you see it, you'll see a registration facility here. You just put your name, email address, and a few other details in, and you can register, and then you can search. And you get access to 25 searches a month, and you get access to all the freely available content, not the premium content that we have licensed in, like the EU books or the preserved content. That's for customers, but you get access to the 2 million plus documents that we've indexed. So anybody can use it. And this is a really great thing because it, rather than just being a completely heavy wall that you have to pay to get past, most people can at least get in and use something. I'll leave it there. We will share the slides at the, I'm sure Ronit and team will share the slides with you. The URL policycommons.net will take you straight to where you can register and get access. But if you want to go to our website as well, it's coherentdigital.net. And here you can read all about the company and the products and the other products that we have. I'll return here. Okay, so just to finish off, I'll answer this one question that is open for Michael, and then I invite any other questions that you might have. So the question is, do you preserve all the documents you find or choose what to preserve? We preserve everything. So we crawl a site, we find a document, we take a copy, and we store that copy. In most cases, we're not using that copy to serve up to the users. We're just keeping it safe. If the link breaks, for example, something goes wrong with the website, or if the document is taken down, or if the organization takes its website down because maybe it's lost its funding or something, then we use our backup document. And so it's preserved forever. So that's currently more than 3.2 million documents preserved forever.
Is it the same for?
Is it the same for? Sorry, it broke out there. I didn't hear the last word.
So, Adam,
Yeah.
is it the same for documents that and really poor? So I wanted to ask, do you hear me now?
Yeah, I hear you now.
So, אני יודעת, תשמעי, just, okay, I did the same for uploads that the customer upload in
Yep.
we
Yes.
have a link not there anymore. You still have. Okay, this is important. So
Yes. So we treat all
so
documents in the same way.
רונית, יש לך בעיה. מדברת, לא שומעים אותך.
So it
So-
basically means that if a customer wants to preserve something,
I think the bandwidth is struggling, Ronit, but I think I understand your question. What you're saying is are the uploads preserved?
yeah,
And also, does that mean that if an institution wants to preserve a whole load of documents, that they could upload them?
right.
In theory, yes, you could use this as a mini institutional repository. And we'd be delighted to take documents
Yeah.
that pass editorial control. But it's not really a substitute for an institutional repository. There's much better ways of doing that work. But yes, you could upload documents and we will preserve them.
Okay, so can you say a few words about trials?
Yeah, of course. So trials are available for you all. We can make sure that they are at the right time to suit you when you can fit it into your schedule. And also we can make it a good period, like 2 to 3 months, so you really have a good time to evaluate it. We spend a lot of work with trials, and I'm sure you good people would not be like this, but we try to avoid the situation where a trial gets ignored. So we engage and we ask our partners in different countries around the world to engage many times during the trial. We will check the statistics. We'll be in touch with you to ensure you're getting the most out of it. Maybe give some tips on how to search and how to explore a bit more. But we want the trials to be successful because we know this is an important database that's doing important work.
Yes. Okay, so is there any other questions before we say goodbye? No questions. Okay, so we are 5 minutes earlier.
Okay.
And yeah, so
Well, maybe if I could just finish by saying thank you to everybody for your attention and for your very good questions. I hope well, I know as librarians, you all appreciate the importance of grey literature, and maybe you can convey that to your academic colleagues. I hope that you do get a chance to take a look. Do register for free, have a look around yourself, and by all means, let's get some trials running. We'd love to do this. We can give you long trials, like I said, at a time that suits you, and I hope to be talking to many of you again in the future. Thank you.
Yes, so thank you very much to Adam. It was very interesting. And just a few words in Hebrew, Adam.
Sure.
אני מזמינה אתכם לבקש משושי, כולכם מכירים את שושי שלנו, לבקש משושי שלנו טרייל. אנחנו, כמו שאדם אמר, אנחנו ניתן טרייל שהוא באורחים שונים, זאת אומרת, לפי הבחירה שלכם, בין חודש ל3 חודשים. אנחנו כן נרצה כמו שאדם אמר, שזה לא יהיה משהו שאנשים לא יודעים עליו, אלא לפרסם את זה ולראות סטטיסטיקות ולראות שמשתמשים, כי מאגר כזה זה באמת חבל שסתם יהיה טרייל ואף אחד לא יראה אותו. אז אתם מוזמנים לבקש מאיתנו את זה. That's it.
Okay.
I spoke about the trials, so very much listen to us. We'll also be happy to come to visit you in your institutions. Zoom is fine, but I don't think there's anything like meeting one-on-one, and so we'll be happy to come and show it to you in person. That's it. Thank you so much.
Thank
And
you.
Goodbye for now.
Thank
Bye-bye,
you,
everybody.
Adam.
Thank you for listening. Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you, Shoshi and Ronit. It was very interesting.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.